Okay. And yeah, as I was saying earlier, the artist's statement, it's not only about sort of the nuts and bolts of your artwork, but it's also kind of getting at the deeper inspirations and subject matter related to your art. This is where maybe you can say that, have you been influenced by other artists? I would imagine if we were from Cape Dorset, there's no way that we could not be influenced by one of those artists that work at the print shop, or one of the very famous sculptors. But in Nunatsiavut, we have our own well-known artists, and I was saying earlier that I had learned how to carve a bit from John Teriak and Derek Pottle. And I also was very lucky to work with Barry Pottle when I was at Indian and Northern Affairs Canada. So, of course, all of these people sort of shape um, who we are and what it is that we want to say to the world through our artwork. So it's a good idea to kind of take some time to think about it. I'm not saying we have to do it all today, but yeah, make notes for yourself right now about who you think has influenced your work, either in technical ways, like their techniques that they've used, or maybe it's their subject matter, or the causes that are important to them are also important to you. Um, Yeah, is there a special material that is unique to your community or your town or your region? I think so often when we think, for example, Cape Dorset, because it's so famous, they have that beautiful green stone that can be very highly polished. But here in Nunatsiavut, we have carvers that can work in a northsite, which has a sort of gray, but it'll have flecks of like a iridescent labradorite in it. So, I mean, if there's something unique like that to your work, that it's a good idea to mention it. There are regions that have a hard time finding stone, and they might work more in antler and bone, or with Rankin Inlet. They're very well known for their ceramics. Um, so yeah, it could be something that you mentioned, that unique little thing that you have to your town or your region. um, but for things like printmaking, um, we have towns up north that are known for a specific technique of printmaking. So with Pangnirtung, they use mostly stencil prints, and it's the same for Uluhaktuk as well in the west. But Cape Dorset is known mostly for lithographs. So anything like that, um, if you have sort of a regional history, it's good to highlight um, that kind of thing.
The slide you just had on is showing.
Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, it's sort of getting deeper into your inspiration, into what it is that you have to say. So you specifically, um, are there things that are very important for you to talk about, that you hope when your audience looks at your artwork, they'll think about that specific issue or topic? Um, I know it's very common for many people to be concerned about climate change, exploitation of land and resources in the north. Other people are very interested in spirituality and ceremony, language, tattoos. I mean, there are so many elements of Inuit culture, especially, that people are very interested in because of um, colonialism and how things were taken away. So we're very much in an era of reclaiming and of sort of adapting to contemporary times and making it part of our life, and um, sort of our daily lives today, I guess. Um, and I think it's also a lot of people are interested in kind of um, going against common stereotypes about Inuit. This idea that everyone still lives in igloos and have dog teams and that kind of thing. So I think there's a popularity about showing who we are today now within a contemporary and sort of globalized society. Um, I think also because of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is such a huge topic in the news right now. We often do see that come out a lot in artwork. We also have a lot of people that are very concerned about what has happened in residential schools and how um, the graves of so many children are being discovered right now. So there can be sort of nostalgic topics, but there can also be very contemporary topics, very difficult topics. That I mean, the great thing about art in general is that you can express yourself um, without words. So you want people is a great way, especially if you're not, you're not comfortable talking. You can use your artwork as a way to talk about all of these issues. So I'm wondering, um, yeah, if you have any of these elements that you can express in your artist statement. So it's also a way to give people and not only an introduction to you, but sort of a cheat sheet or kind of a heads up that maybe this is some of the things that you're going to see in your artwork um, later on or in the next exhibition, or it could be included in the exhibition catalog for a current show that you're in. These are all things that give people a bit of a clue, jumping off point for what your artwork might be about and who you're about and what your story is. Um, I remember when I was working at Library and Archives Canada, we came across an interview um, from decades ago about artists talking about other artists and their work. I don't know if they knew that people would be reading this decades later, but uh, if you're familiar with the work of Joe Talarunali, he does these umiak, like boat. They look like sailboats with a lot of people in them. And the story behind these boats that he keeps making over and over again is that when he was a child, he was in a boating accident where almost everyone died. So he keeps creating this over and over again as I guess, sort of a way to kind of work through his trauma. And technically, if you compared them to um, Kananganak Putuguk, for example, they're technically not as good. Um, and some of the artists were saying, like, why is that? Why are so many people down south? Why would they like Joe's work more than Putuguk's work? And they're thinking like a carver, like to be a good carver, you have to have, this beautifully well done work. But they're forgetting that maybe, especially people down south, artwork can be very valuable for its message rather than its, you know, visual qualities. So it's good to have, a balance of things and to express what that balance is in your own artwork as well. I think it's very inspiring. It's a really good exercise to do because so often we create art kind of automatically or naturally, or like it's very fluid and organic um, when we're doing it. It's kind of feels like it's sort of flowing through us. But it's good to try to look at your work from an outside perspective and to make those connections and be aware of it, um, just for your own knowledge. And I think it's very good for mental health as well. But it's also good when you're sharing and speaking with your audience and people that aren't as familiar with the issues that we as Inuit artists deal with on a daily basis. So I hope that was inspiring to you. So the next portion of the workshop, I won't record. We're doing one-on-ones with our participant. So thank you, Ella, and thank you everyone for watching.